All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Today is January 22nd. This is the Lunenburg Water District Commissioners meeting. We'll start by saying Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okey-dokey. We have several things to go over through tonight, and we'll proceed through them. I know we have members of the public here, which I'm always excited to see. I just would request that you guys hold all your comments to the end, and we'll do a public comment at the end of the meeting. All right, we're gonna start with the minutes from January 28th. Mr. Esposito, I believe you've already signed those.
I don't think I have.
All right,
You can't.
I don't have those.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from the Lunenburg Water District meeting, January 28th.
January 8th.
January 8th?
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
The 28th.
I'm a little ahead of myself.
So moved. Okay, moving on. We have Ty and Bond here to present basically the results of the pilot study conducted at the Hickory Hills and Lancaster Ave wells.
Okay,
Take it away.
so I'll just run through what we did in summary, and then if there's specific questions, you jump in, let me know.
Save it to the end.
Sure. So, we completed our pilot testing of both the Hickory Hills well and the Lancaster Ave well here. So in this report, we summarized all those results, and so in summary, at both sites, we looked at the same technologies to confirm compatibility of treatment technology. So on the front end, we looked at how do we prepare the water for PFAS treatment, and then what's the best option for PFAS removal. In order to achieve economical PFAS removal, you have to pre-treat the water to make sure there's not something that's going to foul the more expensive PFAS medium. So we took a look at a biological filtration system and a green sand filtration system for these two sites. They're both proven technologies, accepted technologies at the state level for the removal of iron and manganese. Biological filtration utilizes basically air and an adjustment of pH to set the right environment on a sand media to then remove the iron and then manganese in separate trains. Green sand is a chemical oxidation. We use chlorine to oxidize iron and manganese, and it's all removed in a single filter. And then on the PFAS removal front, we took a look at granular activated carbon, a couple different variations of that. It comes in many flavors, shapes, sizes, weights, but we took a look at some of the more media types that have been successful at other locations. In addition to that, we also tested a new clay-based media called Fluorosorb. It's an emerging technology. It is on the Massachusetts New Technology list. It recently achieved new technology approval in Massachusetts. So we're starting to look at it from site to site and have had favorable results site dependent. So in terms of results, let me flip to that page. I don't know if we need to go through raw water quality first, but in general, the Hickory Hills well had around a 0.8 milligram per liter of iron, 0.45 milligrams per liter of manganese. Lancaster Ave blended water varied. Didn't see a lot of iron, and we didn't see a ton of manganese in those at the time. It's our understanding that we were seeing probably atypical low values for those sites, but we're waiting to see some more recent water quality testing to verify. But there was less iron and manganese at those two sites.
Which is kind of unusual because we're on the more rapid testing because we're very close to the 0.3 in the past. I mean, we've had 0.25s, 0.28s.
How do those numbers match up to failure or whatever?
That's what we're just going over, I think you just
Yeah,
said
so
it's
for
0.25.
iron, you want, the SMCL, so the secondary maximum.
What's that? Okay, sorry.
Yep,
Gotcha.
so it's not enforceable, it's a aesthetics recommendation for iron, so you wanna be below 0.3 to help with color issues, staining laundry, those types of, orange.
But that's the only reason? Is the coloring?
Well,
For iron,
Take-
yeah,
take-
that's the only thing we're talking about. In addition, it fouls PFAS media, so we wanna take it out before.
But I mean, it's not hazardous to people.
No, there's no studies that suggest that the iron is hazardous.
Okay.
Manganese, there are health advisories when you start getting above, like say a 0.1, but the 0.3, anything above 0.3, DEP wants you to start talking about treatment.
And what was that one? Hickory Hills? I mean, Keating's well we were talking about?
No, Lancaster Ave.
Lancaster Ave, okay. Yeah, I
Yep,
looked at
Lancaster
that,
and
Yeah.
Hickory, yep.
All right. What page you get?
3.1.
I think you got a couple. I'm 2-4, I'm still at the water quality. I'll get there. Oh, okay, I see those.
Alright, so if we jump over to section 3, the results. Biological iron filtration, it started off with some issues at the onset. It was mainly due to the setup of the pilot. We had to pump it into a tank, which aerates the water, drives the pH up, can create particles of iron. It's not ideally what you want to do to pre-treat the water for biological filtration. You want to basically pump raw water right out of the ground into the filter. It likes a lower pH level. It likes, dissolved iron is really what makes the process and drives the process. But when you pump it into a tank, aerate it, agitate it, it creates a particle. And so we did what we could to, mitigate the flow from the well into the tank. We were able to get that as most under control as we could, and that did show some improvements on the biological side. So in the end, we were able to get iron coming out of the iron filters below the SMCL. It was around half the SMCL coming out of the biological iron filters. And then basically the manganese filters took care of the rest of it, as well as the manganese in the end. So in the end, we were able to show that the biological process worked quite well at the Hickory Hill site. Able to remove all the iron and manganese. It was able to handle a 10% recycle flow. So what we do is periodically those filters need to be backwashed. We collect that in a tank, we settle it, send it right back to our pilot, just to make sure in the full scale, to be as efficient as possible, we're able to implement recycle at those facilities as well. So DEP requires that if you're gonna recycle, prove that you can do it before you invest in a recycle system. So we're able to prove that out as well. Green sand was also tested at the Hickory Hill site. That worked just fine. And if you go to page 3-5. So there's a chart there. There's a lot of things going on there, but the gray area, it kind of looks like an L almost. That's the typical range that a green sand filter would operate in. So all those green circles, to be typical, should fall somewhere in that gray region. So we basically saw that, or in some cases a little bit better. The red line is a trend line for the biological filters. for the iron filters. And what this is showing us is, you know, how long the filter can run before it needs to be backwashed. That's what we're really interested in, how frequently we're gonna need to backwash, because then that tells us, all right, how much are we gonna have to manage full scale? And so we've got much higher values, so basically what this is telling us is that the biological system can run a lot longer before needing to be backwashed than the green sand filters. And in addition to that, biological filter, when you go into a backwash mode, you produce less backwash waste per backwash event than a traditional green sand filter. Those you want to agitate more and really get things shaken loose and pushed out. On a biological filter, you want to remove, you know, excess material, but not agitate it so much that you disturb the biology that's going on there. So in the end, you end up producing less waste, so it's a little bit more efficient. The next graph on 3-6 really is just showing us the performance of the PFAS filtration system, and this is just the GAC filters. So we're able to actually see breakthrough on the GAC filters, so those were downstream of the biological system. So we're able to get an estimate for how long they would last full scale. So basically 20,000 bed volumes for the new 4 parts per trillion level, and then 43,000 bed volumes if we were going by the Massachusetts current level. We don't have a similar graph like this for the Fluorosorb because there was no breakthrough. It was non-detect the entire time. We didn't see anything come out of it, so there's nothing to graph.
So what would that show for timeline then, if you never had that? Can you predict a timeline then? Like you're talking 20,000 versus 43 for this?
Right. So what we had to do there is rely on the rapid small scale testing. So we took a sample of the water, same water, we sent it off to a lab. There's a process where they grind the media, they put it in a very small column, and they're able to simulate, hundreds of thousands of bed volumes in a much shorter amount of time. So we do have a predictive model for where that would be.
Gotcha.
So we and those results are a little bit later in the report. Yep. And this is, so there's different graphs for PFOS versus PFOA. So similar results. All right. And then so the majority of that work was completed at Hickory. Then all of that equipment was transplanted down to Lancaster Ave, and we basically just replicated the process. We checked, is it working for biological? Answer was clearly yes. We were able to get non-detects with the biological system. Was it working for green sands? And yes, it worked well for green sands as well. Because the levels were much lower, it was fairly equivalent economic-wise between green sand and biological filtration. If you were looking at just Lancaster Ave alone. But if you want to look into the future for maybe a future well or a worsening water quality, biological gives you a little bit more of a cushion in terms of its flexibility to handle a deterioration of water quality or additional flows and other sources of water that may change your water quality parameters. So you have options. Basically, in a nutshell, all the technologies worked. They all can remove what we need to remove. They can all perform well. So in the end, what we did is a cost analysis of, all right, well, what medias will cost the most to operate in terms of PFAS? Because once you exhaust the media, then you got to replace it. The difficulty thing there is carbon is a lot cheaper than Fluorosorb, but you need a lot less Fluorosorb than you do carbon. So it's not a apples to apples comparison. So we got to look at how much water will it treat, and then what's the change out frequency and the cost to replace that. So we added all that information in there, and in the end, it was less expensive to go the Fluorosorb route the newer media. It's gonna last long enough that the replacement costs are mitigated when compared to carbon. So, there are other things to consider as well, though. Because you need a lot less media, you can provide a much smaller filter, so your building can be smaller to house that equipment. If you ever did want to change your media, though, the carbon vessels give you much more flexibility for something new in the future, or if there's some sort of media that requires a similar contact time as carbon, which is 10 minutes as opposed to 2 to 3 minutes. You've got more options with the bigger filter. But so those are some things that we need to kind of, just talk about as how we plan going forward, and how much we want to, build in as a contingency.
I'm just kind of curious, what did Townsend use in theirs?
The GAC.
Okay.
GAC. At the time, this FLORAZORB was not even on the
Understood.
market
Yeah.
for us to look at.
Yep.
So-
That's what we were talking about before the meeting
Correct.
started, was could we switch medias downstream
Right.
in the future? And he said if we put in the columns large enough to run the GAC, then yes, we could. But if we put in the FLORAZORB size filters, we cannot switch to the GAC down the
Understood.
road. So, and I said, we talking a lot of money, because I would hate to commit to this one right now and,
Have something.
5-10 years down the road, say, yeah, we really we should have done this one.
Right.
So if we design it for the other one, larger filters, then we're good no matter what we do. But you got the initial expense, then that's what we need to decide. Is it worth spending that extra now? And what are we talking if we,
Yep.
we do it later, some kind of thing, so.
It's always cheaper to do it now.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'd be kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, this is all an ongoing conversation.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yep. So, yeah, we took those results, and in the back, we've got some conceptual floor plans of what it would look like to house the treatment equipment we would need for Lancaster Ave wells versus a combined facility that could treat the flow from all the wells. So we were able to zero in on the size of those buildings. I think previously we were looking at around a 7,000 square foot building for a single source, and that proved out to be approximately what you needed. We were looking at maybe a 12,000 square foot building for a combined source, and we're thinking we can get that closer to the 9,000 square foot size at this point. So we were able to, based on the results, be pretty efficient with the size of the equipment. And then based on today's costs, today's purchase dollars, we've included some media costs for the various options as well. For when you're, and what the anticipated cost would be to replace it on just per vessel cost, and then we look at that, and in some cases, since it lasts longer than a year, we've prorated that to an annualized media cost as well. Some of these graphs, like for instance on 4-7, we've got some numbers in there for estimated bed volumes to media change out, greater than 64,000 for carbon, greater than 225,000 for FLORAZORB. That's just because we don't have enough information to say how high it could be. We just know it's more than this. So all these change out frequencies were based on the flow, the combined flow, but assuming the worst water quality of the combined flow. So these are all conservative from that perspective as well.
Have you seen an uptick in cost on an annual basis of media?
Media, we have not seen a big movement on costs right now. Construction costs, we have seen a big uptick.
Yeah. Obviously, everybody wants one.
On the breakdown on the on the media replacement, is that, I know we have it, how we have it broken out, but is it possible by year, like, how long do you think this will last, year-wise?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so if you look at table 4-7, that's page 4-8, that's not confusing at all.
It has an estimated annualized media cost.
Yep, and then there's
Okay.
assumed initial media life, right? So for Calgon, we have 0.9 to 1.2 years. Fluorsorb anywhere from 0.8 to 1.3 years. You know, so
Okay.
it's roughly a year, you know, replacement on a yearly basis.
Okay, gotcha. Now that I see them on the right table, on the right page.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there a non-use shelf life on that stuff? Like if you stored it or had it somewhere and didn't use it for a while?
Oh, I see. So if you bought some media and kept it in its original packaging
Yeah.
somewhere, I don't think there is a shelf life as long as you keep it, you know, out of the elements.
So, both of these types of PFAS removal, would it be like Townsend where they have the piping where you just flow the piping, the media out and put the new media in?
Correct.
So
Yep.
it's- Okay.
Yeah, you fluidize so it shows up on a truck.
Yep.
They add water to it and fluidize it, and they pump it right in, let it settle, backwash it, and then start flushing it, and then take some samples, make sure everything's, you know, no foreign components. It is a mined material, so you can get trace things here and there on either type of media. So they have you test it before you bring it online. But yeah, they both are similar. We're in the question part. So.
Well, but there's gonna, I think, eventually be a whole bunch of questions, but I'd like to see, Mr. Chair, I'd like to see the Keating's results, and then I think we probably need to meet on this a few more times to come up with the options. This is a good start.
Right, no, I think, thanks.
There's a lot to digest
Yeah,
there.
this is,
and,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know,
this is the first time we're seeing this too, and this is,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, we have
yeah, the
some
intent
work
was to-
ahead of us
Yeah,
to,
the intent was to just give a high-level overview,
Yep.
just to give you a sense, let you go back, digest it a little bit more, maybe come back with some more questions that
Mhm.
we can dive into, but.
What
And
are
then,
we
yeah,
s-
I agree, Keating is another factor that's developing, we're getting results, and
Where-
that's a different story.
Where are we on that? Another 6 weeks, maybe?
yeah, they
I
said the end
think
of,
that's about it, yeah,
About
we're,
right.
we're at
The
least.
the
having-
end of February.
yeah, the
is
end of
what-
February is when they.
So then we can expect a report like this.
Well,
When?
can we generate a report quick? Cause we need to apply for the funding, the
So I
SRF
was just gonna
funding.
ask. If we-
Yeah, we'll get right on it. We might just have to get some of the raw data ahead of time, so we're actually analyzing it in parallel with the third-party piloting folks. So we might just have to work with them to get access to the data at the same time they do.
What's the timeline on applying for the funding?
It was July
It's
first.
the end of July last year.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know. It's kind of a moving deadline every year.
But it's in that late July, early August timeframe.
Yeah, so hopefully everything's all ready, cause then we need to decide on what we're gonna submit for. I know in your case, you said we submit all of them, see what,
Well, yeah, I don't know. That's where I think once we have a good idea of cost of construction, cost to maintain and operate, and have all of the options so that we can decide what the best plan is moving forward. And we would have to decide from that point whether we submit differently, one package. I'm assuming, I don't know, what do they like to see in the submittal process? You know, do they wanna say, we wanna submit on 5 different projects, or would they rather see everything bulked together? Do we get a better shot? So
We
those are
have
things
had
I'd like
more
to look at.
success when we combine things into a project. However, what they're most interested in is whatever is gonna, go forward.
Yep.
Um,
So I guess that's kind of what we want to see before submittal time. So yeah, we got a crunch.
So then what are we gonna do for process? Cause we have our annual meeting last Saturday in March. So we got, is anticipation of having anything for articles in that, because we're
I don't
getting
think-
down to our time
I
crunch.
don't
where-
think you're gonna have a report by then
That's
for us to
what
put together.
okay.
So
Yes.
I think we're gonna end up having a special meeting to decide what to go forward
And the
with.
normal schedule doesn't require you to have an appropriation until June of 2026.
So we could submit a number of applications, but I'm sure it's a cost per application we submit.
So we submitted them last year, in the July timeframe. We still don't have the list of who made the list yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the meeting, I was at Mass Waterworks meeting this morning, and they had the DEP commissioner there, and somebody asked that question, like, when are we gonna see the list? And, the safe answer was, any day now, so, so. But I will, but they did also share too, it's, the money's running out, and, I think this year would be important, if you're gonna go forward with anything, that we get an application in this year, because I think after this year, there's, the funding is really gonna quickly dry up. Unless, unless with the new administration, changes happen and there's a, different program, I mean, you never know, but,
Yeah,
so.
I wouldn't be hopeful it to be a different program, but.
I sit here and I think about that funding deal, we had a ton of money at one time, and it was all blown away,
Well,
just gone.
the more we wait, the more it costs, but we wanna make sure we make a good informed decision, and
Yeah,
I mean, what do you recommend? Do you recommend, like, if the board were to sit there and say, all right, to do everything that we want, submit the proposal for $50 million, or is it better to sit there and say, well, let's just do Keating's first and submit it this year? Like, any idea how DEP looks at that? Like, would they, because I hate for, like, us to submit everything again.
Yeah.
We get approved, and then we're like, oh, no, sorry, we can't take it again. Like, are we, like, what do you suggest, like, I guess guidance-wise? Is it best to try to?
Well, what's worked best in the past is before the applications come out, sit down with the folks at DEP and let them know what we're thinking, what we want to do. Get some feedback from them as
Okay.
to how they think,
Okay.
the best approach might be, just to get, get their
Yeah.
thoughts on it. And when you get them up to speed on things and they know what's coming, when they get your application, they're already bought into it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's almost like I think we should come up with like, just amongst ourselves, the board and us, is like a couple of courses of action. That if, we have the results from this, and let's just like, if we just had this right now, we'd want to do this. When the Keating's pilot study comes back, we're hopeful to have this. And just amongst ourselves, be like, okay, let's say, if the Keating's pilot study comes back as catastrophic, okay, like that's gonna cost way too much, we're gonna try to do this. If we think the Keating's comes back and says, hey, this is probably our best course of action here for the town, I think that's what we need to do here, is just a couple of ideas. So we're not just sitting in limbo, and we have something hopefully started, and then when let's say the Keating's results drops, we can put something together, go to the public, see what they're in favor of, and push on. That's-
because
I like it.
Yep.
we're going to get to the point eventually that we were shooting for the first time. All of our sources are going to need treatment. But it's gonna be, what do the water takers want at that point? Do they wanna only start one piece at a time? Or do they want to put together a comprehensive, all-inclusive plan for the future? So that's that's kind of what we need to figure.
Right, I think that's what we should kinda, like, just come up with it and then push that out to the public, take their feedback, and then try to come up with a plan,
Yep.
you know, so.
But I think having the Keating study, having the costs associated with the different types of media, and the maintenance costs and everything laid out for us, is a good place to start. So we gotta, to me, I would wanna wait till we have the pilot study from Keating's.
And maybe in order to give us enough time to discuss before the deadline, we'll see, you know, we'll keep an eye on when
Yeah.
we think the deadline's gonna come out, but maybe we meet and go over just, not a full report, maybe
Yeah.
we just have
Correct.
a summary of the data, and we kinda just, you know, we can talk through it a little bit earlier on in the process to give us a little bit more time.
Can we do some sort of a spreadsheet, either us or you, with you guys working with us, that basically gives us construction costs on each? So we could say, if, you know, I think we've already have most of the information. Hickory Hills by itself, cost of construction, cost to maintain. Lancaster Ave by itself, cost of construction, cost to maintain. Keating by itself, cost of construction, cost to maintain. Consider a combination treatment plant, cost of construction, cost to maintain. And have we talked about one treatment plant for all the sources? I think we talked about it once, and I don't know
At
if
the
it was
very
cost
beginning.
effective.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a cost, it was redundancy kind of thing, cause that was our big thing at the beginning with
That's true.
redundancy.
Yeah, that's, I remember that now.
If the plant goes down, then the whole system's down.
Down.
Wasn't it also the two very different water
Yeah, the water
qualities? You
quality,
have
yeah.
hardness.
Yeah, I think we
Right.
solidified that earlier, that
Yeah.
Yeah.
these two and that one were the best.
Yeah, I think.
Plus
we're done.
Lancaster, although it's the centralized site,
It's not a high producing,
well, I'd just be more concerned from
Reliability.
the access, right? I mean, there has been flooding of the access drive.
Oh, yeah, we've driven through water to get to the wells.
Right, right, so DEP gets a little, particular about those types of situations, so, we have to be, you know, careful that, you know, and from a resiliency and from an access standpoint, that would be a hard sell, I think, if that was your only site. Unless we, you know, planned the mitigation properly, yeah.
all right. Any other questions, gentlemen?
Nope.
Well, I don't have nothing right now.
All right.
A lot of information.
Yeah, there's a lot of information. and
Kinda
we'll
gotta
take
read
it
this
and
one a
we'll go
couple
through this
times.
and-
Yeah.
And it's still,
Big-
I've read it plenty of times,
I think
Yeah.
what
There's
you
so
had
many-
suggested, Mark, a nice kinda, at some point, an easy breakdown, just tell us, you know, for the GAC, this cost, for that floor,
Well, yeah.
sewer, this cost, but something,
A little more
Breakdown.
on the difference on the GAC and Fluorosorb. You know, how long GAC's been out, how long Fluorosorb's been out. You know, if Fluorosorb's, by the time we build, is it gonna be a proven product? Then I would be more comfortable to build a smaller facility than to worry about the possible changeover if the product's proven. But I don't know, that would be, you know,
Are they
your
more-
recommendations.
Are more of them being installed before, so?
Yeah, so I sat in today on a little presentation where a big facility in New Jersey was just brought online with Fluorosorb, and they were showing us the, you know, the process there, and where they proved out how they could fluidize the media, load it in. It was very similar to that. It's online and treating good water now. There's a couple other sites in Massachusetts that are heading down that route. We have another project that has decided to go that route because GAC did not work. They have no other choice.
Oh, okay.
So they're gonna be going that route.
And you said it's a mined product, so I mean, availability of GAC to availability of Fluorosorb,
Yeah.
because this stuff isn't going away.
Right.
This is going to be needed product for the future. So
And we
if
asked that
there's-
exact question
Yeah.
today, and
Yeah.
the response was, well, we have at least 100 years of it. So,
Oh. Okay.
Great.
okay. That sounds like a lot.
100 years based on,
Well, yeah.
what
based
we're
on
using now.
what we're
not
using now,
yeah,
or
yeah,
what we're gonna end up using in
everybody's
the next.
using it, yeah.
Okay. All right, all right. We'll keep pressing on.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think we're good
All
with you
set?
guys, I believe.
Okay.
I appreciate you coming in and going over everything, and good report.
Let us know if you
Keep you
do
posted.
see anything, and we'll.
Yep. Oh, we'll,
Keep going.
we'll be compiling a list of questions for you, I'm sure.
Really, unbelievable. They weren't doing a thing until you. Nice to see you.
All right, next thing we have, review open meeting law complaint received from Nathan Stevens Esquire.
Good job.
Oh, thanks.
Review and vote response from district council and discuss the need for hiring an engineering firm for Haley Ward survey, 400-foot radius around Hickory Hills well. Okay, we received an open meeting law complaint from the McGregor and Stevens via the Woodlands here. And just to not read the complete complaint and response from the lawyer, and the gist of it is that an open meeting complaint was filed against us, that we violated the open meeting law. The response from KP Law, our lawyer, is that we we're not in violation of this law. The conversations that were had were not amongst ourselves privately. It was all within legal bounds between clerk treasurer, superintendent. So, and this was, I guess, the trigger. There was a vote made to hire a firm to survey the 400-foot radius around the Hickory Hills well, which we made a motion and voted on. However, it's actually not required that we do that. It's considered to be normal district procedures to allow the superintendent to make these type of decisions on a maintenance budget. So I think we're a little preemptive in our voting on this, when the fact of the matter is that we don't need to do that, and it shouldn't be the practice thereof to do that. We should just stick to the rules as we've been moving right along, and it will probably save a lot of this confusion in the future. Okay?
Mr. Chair, as I was not present at that meeting, I had to watch the meeting, and that was the first time I saw that item discussed. So. Okay.
Do we need to make a?
So I think, yes, just so everyone's aware, I separately have given each of you copies of the open meeting complaint and copies of the
Response.
response. I spoke with our attorneys at KP multiple times and worked, he drew up this response letter that I then had you guys all separately review. Everybody got a chance to do it. So we just need to, I think he needs to submit formally, if you guys approve it, to the Attorney General, and we will send the response to the Woodlands attorney, McGregor, Ledger and Stevens, if it was something that you guys agreed on.
Any more discussion on it? Cause
Nothing from me.
I make a motion that we, allow KP Law to move forward with the response as they have written.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Okay,
And
next.
then follow up with.
Oh, yes. So, we're still going to proceed with
Oh, yeah.
getting the.
You guys don't need to know about it.
Right,
Signed, done, it's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
okay. Okay. These glasses are way too powerful for me.
I'm
It
sorry.
is really throwing me off.
Sorry,
Man.
they're all the, like, yeah.
No, I tried those ones too.
How about them?
No, you guys.
They're all, I
are-
just bought a
these
pack
are like,
of them.
these are like magnifying glasses, like, my goodness. Review, award, and execute general obligation bond for Mass Ave water main replacement project.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion. Can I make a motion?
What, do you want me to?
Review it?
Yeah, hold on.
Why? I already have it in front of me.
Well, yes, so I, again, have provided each of you, we went out for bond today at 11 o'clock. We had 6 bids come in for the 2.2 million dollars. 6 bids came in ranging anywhere from 3.657 to 3.81%. So Raymond James and Associates was the low bidder. We worked with the same people we always have, David Eisenthal with Unibank. We drew everything up. So basically the vote of the Board of Water Commissioners, the handout I gave you guys just summarizes everything
Yep.
needed for this, to authorize this bond to go through. For me to sign for it for the bond. So we're looking at around $160,000 a year for the next 20 years. Varies a little bit, goes from 158 to 162, but average 160,000 per year. So Fran and I started just running some rough numbers, but it definitely is gonna go down people's bills. So I'm hoping, we're thinking around $15 a quarter where
It's
it wasn't.
about $10 we gotta knock off.
Yeah.
'Cause it's
Right.
25.
Because this comes from the initial, when we put out to the public, there is going to be a $25 charge on your bill for this Mass Ave water replacement project. And
Cause
as
that
we-
was for the
right.
temporary borrowing.
And as we've talked about before, once we knew that we had a final number on this,
Yep.
that we would basically go back to the math board there
Yep.
and come up with this broken down over the next 20 years, costs per resident per
Yep.
quarter to come up with this 2
Yeah, so I'll work on getting,
Right.
if we can get an exact number, but roughly about $15 per quarter, so it'll be $10 less than what their bills are right now, so.
Just to be clear on the, any of the money collected on that additional line item, it all goes and can only go to this project. So that even though we've already done $25 per,
Yep.
that is only able to go towards this project. Now that we have a final number, we're gonna be able to lower that number, and if we have any excess, we can't
Yeah, I
really
mean, that
use
could
it.
go towards year 2044
Right.
paying
But
that.
any money collected on that special line item
is
is
only
only
for
going to this project.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And that's why that's why it's separated on everybody's bills, because then
I
it
just,
is,
when it goes down, everybody's gonna be like, well, what about all the extra money you had before?
Right.
Yeah.
It all
Yeah.
goes to
Right.
this project.
yes, it is allocated specifically for when I bill, I know the exact number that goes out, and then when people pay their bills, it
So
comes in
there-
exactly to that
Are
account.
we're gonna keep a fixed amount and then any additional goes to it? Or are we gonna, whatever we are paying out that year? Cause you said there was an average of 165 and I saw some variables.
Well, of 160.
Right. 160.
So if you look on, yeah, page, the third page, the debt service schedule, our first payment will be on 11/1/25. So we do one principal, 2 interest payments every year. So if you look to the right, the fiscal total, 158, 158, 160, 161, 162.
Right,
So
but we're not gonna vary the
no,
We're
no,
just-
Set,
no.
right.
set,
Set
and then
one
whatever's
Separate,
left
yes,
goes
because
to
I'm
it.
not gonna go $14 to $14.50 to 15 to
Correct.
it's, so we basically took it's
The
a
total.
tough number to see.
And then it's
$2
still
million
all
loan.
only going to this project.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so who knows, maybe the last year we'll say, okay,
That's
we
what
don't
I'm saying.
we don't charge it all, we knock the year off.
Yeah,
They-
that
they
last
only-
quarter, we've got this much still in there, alright, this is what can go towards it, we only need to make 50, yeah, in 2044, we'll figure that final number out.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Now you can.
Now I can make the motion? All right, I would like to make a motion to approve the details of the $2,165,000 bond, issue date 2/5/2025, as they appear in the votes prepared by the bond council, and such will be put into the minutes of the meeting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good.
That's a lot of money.
Well, it's a lot of
Yeah.
money, but we came in under.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I think, some of that's, the way the staff work together with the construction managers down there and so forth, and it's always good to come under in a land where everything costs more.
I'm just glad it's done, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just have a few leftover things to do.
Yeah,
Just
touch up in the
Clean up,
spring.
And pave.
Yeah.
So we can do the final pave. We got some overlay, some mill and pave with some sections. Mostly loam, a lot of loam, but a lot of it's just open area. Pick up this silt fence and hate.
Yep.
Stuff.
Good.
Okay.
You had a break on Pleasant Street again?
Yes.
We're not
Yeah,
there
that'll
yet.
be-
We're not there yet.
Oh, there's some other.
I want to keep you on your toes.
Well, hey, I like it. I like the way, any further on that? We're good with that? Okay, perfect.
Good with that.
Okay, moving on. Commissioner, Superintendent, Clerk, Treasurer additions.
So that's the main break on Saturday, Pleasant Street. It was a typical crack in the AC pipe, pretty big crack, and we dug it up, had it repaired. Things went pretty smooth. We were pretty much halfway through backfilling, and this was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and the next joint blew apart. So flooded the whole hole. We had to redig the whole thing, and it ended up taking until like, I say 2 o'clock. We turned the water back on, and then there was a lot of work cleaning it up, compacting because it was in the road and stuff. So in the end, it went as good as it could. I mean, I can't imagine anybody doing it quicker than we did it. But on that day, we were limited on staff. Just myself, PJ and Ryan. Ryan's new. PJ we threw in the backhoe. I was in the hole running the dump truck. So I mean, we were, and we had calls out to everybody. So Terry did get there. He got there, I don't know, 10:30. Jeff Bingham came in, retired Jeff. He came in to run the backhoe, so that got me out of the hole just to driving the dump truck. So it was we all, as we always do, we all work together. Whatever it is, we all do. The only thing I just wanted to mention is that we got complaint from a few people on Pleasant Street that there was no communication, and
So if they'd like
to
you to
me
stop,
there is none.
Right.
if they
We're
want you
not
to
gonna
stop
get
driving
any.
the dump truck to communicate with
So
them.
I think we need to point out that we have 5 full-time employees here at the Lunenburg Water Department, and I think we do very efficient at what we do. Typically, if this is during the week and this has happened, we have a clerk treasurer that would sit here and post something out to the community that, hey, there's a water break here or there. But on a weekend, we are basically, at a scramble. The priority number 1 is to get the water main fixed. So I know some people, like, we're not National Grid, we're not Unitil, we don't have this vast amount of resources. For us to go out and simply even post something on the media is bring in her, bring a secretary in on overtime hours to put it's not going to happen. We tried our best to fix these things efficiently and fast. Nobody wants to be out there, but we don't have the manpower to I guess push all this out there that much. The main goal is to fix the water.
So, but even if we did a post, okay, let's say a Facebook post goes
Right.
out, hey, broken water main on Pleasant Street. Anticipate the water's gonna be turned back on at 2 p.m.
Right.
That's it. There's no
Yeah,
more.
and
well,
like-
no.
So many people were there.
No, the thing is so how long did that break take? Because you had an unanticipated break.
Correct.
Beyond that. So now you're gonna have people even more pissed off because you said, oh, we should have this fixed in 2 hours. But now you have another break that causes
Right.
anything any longer.
So there's just
And you don't, if somebody got notification after the fact that they went to their faucet and turned it on and it wasn't working, to me, that's notification you don't have water. Unfortunately, I would love to be able to communicate more, but I believe I echo the chair's statement. I mean, we're limited on staff some days, and I think it's more vital that we get the repair done than to have that post. If there's an easy way to do it, then I'm all for it, but,
I'll throw you a phone while you're in the hole
In the-
driving
yeah.
the dump truck.
and you can make
You
a
can
post on
put- it's,
Facebook.
it's
But you still can't be 100% accurate, and you're gonna post something that somebody already knows.
Right.
If I go to Facebook to see that I don't have water after I've turned the faucet on, I'm sorry.
I've noticed too.
Sorry.
One person will drive by that hole and say, "Oh, Lunenburg's got a break on our street." They'll go home, put it on their computer, and within 10 minutes, the whole neighborhood knows it.
Well, that's the thing.
So the
So
public
usually the
help
people
it on
don't even-
anyway.
a lot of people did stop oh, look at this,
Yeah.
that's a big hole, what a mess. Well, why didn't they post something, you know?
Well, because it doesn't bother them that
Yeah,
much.
it's-
They
I
know,
mean,
they know what the
They
deal
saw
is.
it and they know,
Yeah.
and they live,
Right.
one of
If-
them,
if-
live right there.
Obviously,
Yeah.
like from our point, it gets a little frustrating reading this. I read it too, like Jesus,
I
we're
was
out there doing what we guess, but like I just try to think across the community. Lunenburg's a great community. Most people are very understanding and appreciative of what we do. I just kind of want to bring it to light for some people who maybe don't understand the process here, that we don't have the staff that can give a constant update of where we are in this. During the week, we may have a little more ability to do that with people in the office, but on a weekend, on a break, the number one goal is to get the thing turned back on. And like you say, we're bringing in people on standby. We're bringing in Jeff, who's retired, basically. We're bringing in all our resources to do it as efficiently as possible. And to Mark's point, this happens all the time. You fix one break and just do the disturbance of the pipe. Well, it broke 4 feet down. I mean, if you're frustrated on Facebook, I think you guys feel be like turn it back on, like
It is
I guess, Mr. Chair, if enough of the public came in and wanted us to bring in our clerk treasurer on overtime, to
Right.
give a blow-by-blow on what's going on, then I guess that's what we gotta do.
I'd be if we need to get a commentator. Yeah,
But this gets tough too, because the only person required to be here is the person on call. Everybody else comes in
correct.
because they're available, and if I was out of town, see ya.
Yeah.
I'm not
And then
coming.
they're scrambling, and it's a tough time of year, so to get a contractor, we have great contractors that help us out.
Yep, sure
But
do.
it just happened to be a perfect storm where a lot of that help wasn't available.
What does Fitchburg do? I bet they do nothing.
They sub it, a lot of times they just sub it out to a contractor like Tandem. will
Yeah, but
fix.
they don't blab it all over the internet that you guys got a water break
don't
down
know.
the street.
Well, do they
Follow
isolate,
them.
they probably have the opportunity to isolate a lot more, their system's a lot larger, a lot
I
more
mean,
loops.
we only had Pleasant Street.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, that
We
was a
didn't do even
small
a whole-
area.
Well,
That
that's what I'm
wasn't
saying.
like,
Pleasant Street, it was only half of it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
half of one street there. Anyway, I just thought it was worth mentioning. I don't want to pound that thing into the ground, but just so hopefully there's some public eyes out there that can see. And if I'm more than happy to take input from the public if they think we should be doing it differently. But that's how we do it now. If anybody has a better way to do it, I'm all ears.
And just kind of separate thing, Pleasant Street is on one of our mains to replace.
Yeah.
It's rolling 8 kids in Pleasant Street. That's the
Yep.
order I'd like to follow.
Well, the faster we can get this PFAS thing sewn up, the faster we can start replacing
Right.
mains.
Yeah, right.
Anything
It's
else?
always
man?
something.
No, nothing I got.
One other little thing, we had the corral designed for the Chase Road tank, which is where they put the cellular equipment on. AT&T's at the center of the tank. They asked me if they could modify their setup, do some additional welding to the top of the tank. And I mentioned the corral to them, and I said, is this something maybe we could work together, put it in, or maybe we hire someone to put it in and they move their equipment to it. So it got me thinking, when I was talking to AT&T, I mentioned the Sunny Hill Road water tank that then on, so I was trying to do a little sales pitch. And so I'm thinking, I didn't make any decisions with the engineering firm, but I was gonna ask you guys, it's called a pod. They would mount it to the top of the Sunny Hill Road tank, and it actually has a man door inside of it, and the cellular equipment would be mounted on the top above it. So I would like, this would be a vote of the board somewhere down the road, because this was a much larger expense. But my opinion is that we hire them to design this pod, and then we go off for an RFP, and maybe we move Verizon up there, get them away from the tank, above it, from any work area, and redesign it, go off for an RFP. Eventually, we're gonna have another carrier on that tank, and this would be a perfect thing to do.
Now that's welded on?
That would be, there's a tube where because you walk through the tube to get to the top, it would just mount to the top of that tube and just extend up to a higher number, and we would tell him how many carriers we wanna put on it. My thinking was just two carriers.
What holds the tube on?
It's welded to the whole design of the
Okay.
tank. It was actually, the tube was how they built the tank. So
Yeah.
when they
Alright.
very first built the tank, they put the tube in, then they built the tank around that that tube, and then, we have the garage door in the bottom, they just cut the tube off, so they
So the tube's still there.
yeah, still, that's access to the top.
I think if we did that, it would be, behoove us maybe even talk to the carriers, see who's interested in it, and like, do they have any design input on it or something like that. I'd almost like, I don't wanna say built a suite, but you know what I'm saying, like,
Okay.
whatever we put together would be advantageous to them, like, yes, we like our equipment in these, cause it, I don't know, lasts longer or something to that effect, you know?
Okay, so that's all, so I think I get the opinion, I'll ask the engineering firm for a quote.
Yep.
For a design, so won't have any expense, so just get a design quote. AT&T's already looking at it, so I get them checking it out, and, but they're always upgrading, I'd say every 2 years they're upgrading their equipment.
Right.
So even if like Verizon doesn't move there, then they will eventually anyway. Or maybe we'll leave Verizon on the side of the tank and we go for another carrier, so. But we'll see how it goes, so I'll ask for a design engineer, designing price, and then we'll see what that is and go from there. But I did ask if we could do the same with the Chase Road tank, put that pod on.
Yep.
And because of the design of that tank, he couldn't do it.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Bursch?
I watched the last two meetings because I wasn't not able to attend. So I wanted to say I was pretty impressed with Mark Mueller's presentation, his audit, and I wanted to just kind of give public kudos to our clerk treasurer and our superintendent because you know what I got out of that and his report was they do a tremendous job with the finances at the district here. So
I
I just
agree.
wanted to say something about that. I have some other things, but they have not come up, so I'm gonna leave them alone for now. Other than that, I'm good.
Oh, oh, sorry.
We gotta get to Mr. Espino.
Okay.
Well, I'm always good.
What do you have?
So a couple things. We upgraded, remember that Neptune 360?
Yep.
We upgraded that. So when we started doing sewers deduct reads,
Yep.
so just so you know, we have our billing company and they have it set up right now so I can code it correctly. If they have water and sewer, their account is coded a certain way. So I do all the reads, click a couple buttons, send them sewer their reads. But the deducts are very different. They're not set up in my billing system. They're just set up differently. Well, since we've upgraded to the Neptune 360, the old way of reading the deducts is it just doesn't work.
Yep.
So Thai Sales came out, one of their guys came out who services the 360. I'm working with them. They're trying to code and create a program. So basically, they were supposed to get me a quote, which I hadn't got, but verbally over the phone, they said they're looking at, for them to be able to code this and for me to go back and forth quarterly to get this, we're looking at about a $500 a year fee. So I haven't agreed on anything, I haven't even seen the quote, but this is something that I think we need to do because we're finding that the quarterly reads and the deducts need to be done on the same day, especially in the summertime, because we actually ran into a point where we did the quarterly reads and we didn't do the deducts till a couple weeks later, and
And
a
that'll change.
very
Yeah,
high
huge.
irrigation user on Electric Ave used a lot of water in that time frame. So then the numbers didn't. They were
Okay.
like, wait, they used more in irrigation than their actual meter used. So we need to do them all on the same day so that deducts
Okay.
and those go together.
I understand.
So I absolutely think this is something that we need to do. So just for you guys to think about, right now we do charge sewer to do their reads, and then there was the additional charge, quarterly charge that we do for to do the deduct reads. So in my opinion, we just paid a lot of money to upgrade our meter reading system and to do these deducts.
Which is
I think sewer should
sewer.
pay for the annual fee, $125 additional per quarter, because this is their deduct reads, you know.
Right,
for them to
they
be
didn't
able to
pay
get
for
it.
the upfit, but they should be
Agreed.
paying for at least the.
For the deduct part of the upgrade,
For
yes.
the deduct part of the upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, cause we had to upgrade our whole meter, which includes reading sewers meters.
Yeah.
Not meters, but they're getting them the reads.
Yeah.
So, I'll follow up on it, but it is something that I would like to, talk about probably at the next meeting, cause I would like to get him coding it and getting it ready for next, quarter, which I would do in March for
Yeah.
April's bills. So that was one thing. The other thing, Fran and I are working right now, found another $50,000 grant. I don't know, I don't think I brought it up in any other meetings yet, but it's a water efficiency resiliency grant. And we found out it basically will cover leak detection equipment and to hire a leak survey to come out. So we're working on getting prices for that. That's actually due end of this month.
Pretty big.
So, yeah, so I went on and Zoom with whoever's through not DEP,
Mass Water Works.
yeah, no, anyways, I went on a Zoom for the question and answer, and that seems to be their big push for this, is everybody getting out there and doing leak detection, and, so we'll put that together, and I think they were looking, I think the time frame was by mid-February, they'd have everybody awarded, and so hopefully
How much is that for?
50,000.
That's it?
So
Well, it would,
For a system evaluation?
Well,
no,
Full
it's,
system leak detection?
Well,
But
so-
that's the full system leak, because we were getting prices on this already, that's like $8,000.
Yeah.
That's not
Okay.
huge money to do that, but the equipment we're gonna put in for the grant is these loggers.
Right.
And,
that we would
We've
keep,
talked about this
we
before,
keep,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be,
so you could pick how many logs you wanna buy, and I think part of the grant, we were looking at buying 45 of them. You stick them out there, you leave them there, and
Yeah.
they talk by two-way radio.
Yep.
And so you can be sitting here and say, hey, these 5 loggers are hearing a leak. So boom, hey, now you head over in that area with the other leak detection equipment we're applying
The stuff
for,
that, yeah.
which is more the pinpoint.
Precise.
Yeah.
So I think it's all good stuff.
Sure.
But I know
Okay.
we got a grant, it was probably 20 years ago, for correlators.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
when we got them, we tested different types of them. So the grant bought this system, and we liked another one so much, we went and bought it on our own. It was the same one with the loggers. So the logger system that we had purchased back then, those are starting to fail. We're down to like half of them, so we only have a couple of them. So if we could get this grant, then
yeah,
maybe it's something we upgrade our equipment, or even if we don't get the grant, maybe this is something we put in as a future, purchase, because I think it'll be a benefit to, finding leaks quicker.
well, it's in real time, like the ones that they use now, they put out and then have to actually take out, come
Yes.
back here, come to the computer,
Okay,
put it in the program, whereas they're out,
Yeah.
you can look at the data while they're out there.
Yeah, I
It's-
think it was every day that we transmit.
Yeah.
yeah,
data.
yeah.
Yep, so,
How close do they have to be to the leak to pick it up?
A lot of that depends on the pipe. Like if it's a cast iron or a duct line, the sound transmits
Yeah,
through that
I see that.
much further. The transite, the cement pipe, that one doesn't transmit as far, but it will transmit. The worst one is plastic. The sound doesn't really
Just, yeah, I
pass
see
out
that now
plastic.
bouncing off.
We don't have any of that.
A little bit.
Well, yeah, not in Maine, so, right?
So on the leaks, so the leak we fixed on Pleasant Street. So when I was digging around the coupling, I saw a whole row of roots right around the coupling, and there was like a layer of roots right around it. So when I saw that, I'm like, this thing's been leaking
Yeah,
for years.
absolutely. Going right-
Maybe nothing that we
Nothing,
would
right,
see,
yeah.
but it was definitely something that
Yeah, roots were going for it, yeah.
shouldn't have been there. So.
last thing I had too is we have our annual meeting the end of March, and we, are gonna have the open position for moderator. So I have the nomination papers here in the office. If anybody is interested in filling that moderator position, they can come in, grab the papers.
What date is that meeting? I mean, what,
29th?
March, it's the last Saturday in March,
Yeah.
so it's like the 28th, 29th,
okay.
January, February, March 29th. That's all I got.
All right. Public comment.
Andy Starvasky, 8 Winter Green Court. My comment is about the site survey down at the Hickory Hills well, and why are we doing it? We're talking about funding, and we've seen the Mass Ave project that was necessary to increase our goals. This past spring, we saw the warrant article for Hickory Hills well get overwhelmingly voted down. So why are we taking water funds to do a site survey at a closed well now?
Thank you for your comment. Due to some of the correspondence we've had with the group of the Woodlands, we've been under the advisement to the request of their lawyer to respond to questions like this via our lawyer to your lawyer. So we'll get back to
I'm
you.
not here for the Woodlands, I'm here as a water user.
Okay, May I, Mr. Chair? Mr. Stravosky, where do you live?
8 Winter Green Court.
Okay, is that in the Woodlands?
What does that matter? I'm not here representing.
The
that
thing
party.
is you're part of the association down there, correct?
I live down there, yes.
Okay,
But
and-
I'm not here representing them.
Okay, I
I'm
understand,
here
I
as a
understand
water
that.
user.
I understand that.
Okay.
But you're a member of the association.
Why are you doing the site survey?
Because we can't.
We aren't gonna answer that currently at this time. Your board, you have a board down there, correct? At the Woodlands?
I'm not familiar with this.
Okay. Okay, well, you have a board, and your board has counsel, and your counsel has sent us a couple requests not to communicate with the board, and specifically, in some cases regarding that site, not in some cases, in all cases, not to communicate with the residents. So, based on the information I have from your attorney, if you have a question about the site, you need to ask your board of trustees. They will then send that question to the attorney for the board of trustees as requested, who will then send it to our attorney, then send it to us, so we can send it back to our attorney, to send it back to your attorney, back to your board, to you.
All right.
Because the information I have, unfortunately, I mean, doesn't really allow us to answer any questions directly to the residents. Based on
As a water
information,
user and a resident of Lunenburg, I'm asking. I'm not
I
here.
understand
On the
that.
board or
But
anything like
because
that.
you're-
As a water
be-
user,
be-
I'm asking, why are you doing
Then-
a survey?
Then
and
you
spending funds on
you're
this?
still missing the point. Your attorney for your association says we are not to answer questions to the residents.
So if a non-resident came and asked that question, would you answer that?
We may, but
It's public comment,
unfortunately, we're
it's
not
not
supposed,
discussion.
Yeah.
right.
All right, so I'm gonna stop this right here. This is, I think we've gone back and forth enough on it. Is that right?
I would only, can I speak to one other thing? Because I happen to see Mr. Pease in the room and he can talk about this any way that he wants or doesn't want.
As long as it's very productive.
It's very productive because before all this happened, we had a simple situation down there. We had a conversation about it, a couple situations. We talked about them and didn't get all of this attorney stuff involved, and we cured them, did we not? The parking situation, the problem with the grass, we went down and we seeded and took care of those. Simple conversations about things that arise down there because of our easement, because you guys are residents and live down there. We should be able to have simple conversations and come to agreements. But based on these two correspondence, the one, and then they had to do another one to reiterate that we're not supposed to talk to anybody down there without a letter of intent, is, I don't know.
That's what it's come to.
Not the neighborhood I grew up in. What is that, John? What is that comment you have?
Oh, yeah, but we wanna work with you.
So, if I was a resident of,
a
if I was
joke.
you, Mr. Stravosky, I would ask my board, why? Because unfortunately, based on the information I got from your board's attorney,
I don't feel
simply
comfortable.
as a water district customer.
I'm sorry, but because you're a resident down there and because of the 2 letters I have from the attorney from down there, I'm
You can't tell the water users
All right,
why
nope,
you're doing the
we're done with
survey?
this, we're moving on.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Just a suggestion, nothing to do with this.
We're taking comment, Paul. I'll listen to your, I'll take your
Well, it could be a
comment.
suggestion.
On the water breakage, if you were to talk to the fire chief, and then when you go down to like Mark, if the fire department should be notified, hey, we got a water break on Pleasant.
dispatch normally knows.
The dispatch
They
would
call us.
automatically know, right?
Yeah, they're the ones who called to let them know that there was
Yeah,
water.
okay, so then.
So if somebody called the emergency number.
There's nothing more you can
After
do,
this.
other than, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Can I go into this a little bit? I mean, so the downside of the dispatching now is not the same as it was in the past.
No.
In the past, we two-way radio communication with the fire and police department. Now it's Neshoba, so there was a big separation of the amount of communication between the two. So our phone messages still say, call Neshoba, here's the phone number, call for emergency. But that's about it. So I mean, so they know we have a broken main because they called us to notify us. So they know about it. The police discussed. Police were at the site. But then that's where the communication ended.
The further breakdown in the way the dispatch works is there are 3 or 4 maybe dispatchers on at any one given time. So not always does one dispatcher know what the other dispatcher had for a conversation with somebody. So there's a breakdown in communication there,
They need a lawyer.
I guess. Lawyers solve everything.
There's nothing more you can do, okay?
No.
Yeah, all right,
No,
fine.
I mean, we
That's
do
it.
everything as
Yep.
we do.
Yeah, so usually like the fire chief, I'll text, hey, we have the water off on Pleasant Street from such and such and such.
Yeah, so he knows.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Well, is there any more public comment?
No.
Mr. Rogers is here, maybe he has a public
Is
comment.
there any more public comment?
He asked, nobody raised their hand except Paul.
Okay.
I accept your motion to adjourn.
Okay.